Welcome to the next lecture. We will continue today our discussion with klestron, of course, as an amplifier. So here is the block diagram of klestron, and let me briefly recap what is the whole plan, how it will work. So you have now brief idea of cavity, right? So cavity can store electromagnetic waves, and they can be stored in different modes, and the frequencies can be computed depending upon the geometry of the cavity. And here is the one cavity which is called a buncher cavity. Okay, the input RF microwave signal which you want to amplify is applied here at RF input of the buncher cavity. Okay, and the corresponding amplified signal, we are going to see how it amplifies, is going to be collected here at the output of catcher cavity. So at the outlet, the principle will be like this. So when the input RF will be fed here to the buncher cavity, so there will be oscillations set in the cavity, right? Then we have this cathode which will be fed with this battery of voltage V0. Okay, and then we have anode, and it has also its potential maintained by this Vg. Now what will happen is this cathode, when it gets heated up, it will release electrons. Those electrons will move with some constant velocity V0, and as soon as they will pass through this narrow, you see we have here some holes actually, right? So they are to allow the electrons to pass through this buncher cavity. Once they will pass through the buncher cavity, they will experience the field, because you have fed the RF input to the buncher cavity, right? So there are oscillations set in the buncher cavity. So the electrons will experience the field, and correspondingly what will happen is, so the field is something like this. So electrons will sometimes experience zero voltage at this point. Okay, so when electrons will experience the zero voltage, at that moment the electrons will not undergo any change in the velocity. They will move with the same velocity V0. But electrons will also undergo through this peak. Suppose electrons undergo this field. So they are experiencing positive field, higher field. They will get accelerated. So the velocity will increase. And similarly, the electrons which will experience this negative field, they will get retarded. Okay, so their velocity will get decreased. As a result, we will form something called bunches of electrons, right? So those electrons which were, suppose they left the cavity at some particular time, but they left the cavity at a time when the voltage was, when the field was zero, so they will be moving with the constant velocity. But later time, okay, there will be an electron which is accelerated because of this positive voltage, okay, positive field. So what will happen is, after some time, these two electrons will meet together, right, and they will form a bunch. Similarly, it will form a series of bunched electrons. In fact, the current which will be generated because of these bunches of electrons, it will be sinusoidal in nature. So this process here, where the velocity is getting modulated because of the field inside the buncher cavity, is called velocity modulation process. And then when it reaches to the catcher cavity, what will happen here is, so we have here, this is the catcher cavity, and again there are holes here. When the electrons will enter here, they will be retarded, and their kinetic energy will be converted into the potential energy, which will be actually stored in the cavity in the form of resonant electromagnetic waves, and that is what will be fed to the RF output. Now, because of the voltage V0, the DC voltage here, which is kept very high, we will see the assumptions later, the electrons, so the electrons potential energy will be converted to the corresponding, electrons kinetic energy here will be converted to the corresponding potential energy, and as a result, the oscillations at the output of this catcher cavity will have quite high magnitude of oscillations as compared to the RF input, and hence we will get the amplified version of the microwave RF signal which is fed as input at the puncture cavity. This is the qualitative brief working of this klystron. Now we would like to do some analysis. First we set up some notation. So we have this V0, which is defined as, this is the DC voltage, but it is very high DC voltage. You will see it later on. And let small v0, right, again small v0 be the velocity of electron before it reaches the puncture cavity. Okay, of course it will be uniform velocity, this one, because it doesn't experience any field till it reaches the puncture cavity. Now the first thing is the kinetic energy gained by the electron when it moves with velocity v0 is half mv0 square. That will be actually equal to the potential energy which resulted because of the potential v0. So hence, by conservation of energy, we have half mv0 square is equal to capital E v0, E capital V0, and hence we get the velocity as root of 2 E v0 by m, which can be written as 0.593 by putting the value of charge of electron and mass of electron meter per second. Okay, now let v1 be defined as amplitude of signal to be amplified, that is which we are applying at the RF input. Then what will happen is, in this gap, now consider this the gap between these puncture grids. Okay, in between this gap, when the electrons will reach there, they will experience a potential, right, because there is a field, varying field inside the puncture cavity. And if V1 is the amplitude of the RF input, in this gap, this gap means the gap between the grid, puncture grid. Now in this gap, the voltage between the gap will vary as, let's call that Vs is equal to V1. So it will have a sinusoidal variation because your input is having, the RF input is sinusoidal in nature, and we call this as gap voltage between the puncture grid. And it is assumed that this V1 is much less than V0. Okay, that is of course reasonable because we are amplifying this signal which has amplitude V1, and V0 is a battery in our control, and the size of klystron I have shown you last time. It is used in radars, and we can have very huge battery, so we always can satisfy this assumption that the battery voltage is quite high than the input voltage which we want to amplify. Our first purpose is to analyze something called velocity modulation. So to get the insight into the velocity modulation, it is very important to know the time the electrons are entering the cavity, puncture cavity, exit time, okay, and also something called transit, that is transit time, the time through the puncture gap. Okay, so first of all, again some notation. So d is the puncture gap distance. I will go to the figure. So here is this d. So okay, the gap between this puncture grid. Okay, this is d. And you can see that we have two scales, distance scale, time scale, and T0 is the time when electron enters into the puncture cavity, T1 is the time when it leaves the puncture cavity. Okay. So of course, what will be the approximately the average value of tau? That will be d divided by V0, okay, and which is actually T1 minus T0. And correspondingly, what is the average gap transit angle? So there will be a angle theta g, phase angle corresponding to this transit time tau. That will be omega times tau, right, which can be written as omega T1 minus T0, or also as omega d divided by V0. So this is the average gap transit angle. Okay, now we first of all would like to find average microwave voltage in puncture gap. How can you find that? What is the instantaneous puncture voltage? That is V1 sine omega t, right? We want to average it over So we will average it over from entering time to the exit time and divided by the transit time. So that we will define as average microwave voltage in the puncture cap, and this of course is equal to usual integration of sine, which is minus cosine, and then putting in the limit. Okay, so we can also write it as, now T1 can be written as d over v naught plus t naught. So putting that in the equation, we get average voltage in this form. Now we will do some manipulations. The first manipulation we will do is like this. So omega t naught plus omega d divided by 2 v naught, I can write this as omega t naught plus, what is this omega d by v naught? Go back. This is the average transit angle we have defined, right? So I can write here theta g divided by 2, and let that equal to a, some a, we will give a notation to it, and omega d divided by 2 v naught, which will be now theta g by 2, let that equal to b. This is our notation. We want to use some identity. First of all, you note that what is a minus b? A minus b is clearly omega t naught, right? And what is a plus b? A plus b is clearly omega t naught plus theta g, which is omega t naught plus d by v naught. So you can basically see that this is a minus b and this is a plus b. So we will use identity cos of a minus b minus cos of a plus b. This is equal to twice sine a sine b. So after we use that, the average microwave voltage becomes, so we have first of all v1 divided by omega tau, now twice sine a sine b, right? Because you see this is exactly cos of a minus b minus cos of a plus b in terms of the notation defined. So this will be v1 by omega tau twice sine of theta g by 2, like this. And now which we can also write as v1 times sine theta g by 2 divided by theta g by 2 times sine of omega t naught plus theta g by 2. As you can note, this is, you can also write it as sinc, v1 sinc of theta g by 2 sine of omega t naught plus theta g by 2. So it tells us this thing. See, you know the behavior of sinc function, it's like this. So as theta g increases, the value of sinc decreases. Okay, and this sinc function has a very important role to play. So it is defined with a separate symbol beta I, and it is called beam coupling coefficient. So as we see that if theta g increases, right, so the value of beam coupling will decrease, and so the velocity modulation, as you will see, that will also get decreased. Okay, now first of all, what will be the potential, the net potential after the after the electron exits from the puncture cap? So here is the puncture cap, it enters here at t naught. So at t naught it gets this potential sine of omega t naught plus theta g by 2, right, times this beta I. Now this is the beta I, and also there will be v1, right, and it had already potential of v naught, the external DC potential, right? So what is the net potential immediately after it exits? That will be v naught plus this whole thing. Now again, applying the conservation of energy principle, we earlier noted that v naught, the initial uniform velocity, was 2e v naught by m. Now when it exits, that is at time t1, the approximate, again these are approximations, velocity will be 2e by m, and then the potential of electron when it experiences immediately after exiting the this bunch grid, that is this whole thing, right? The net potential which it exhibits. By taking v naught out, I can express it as, quite simple, I have just taken v naught out. Now this term beta I v1 by v naught, this term, this term is multiplied with, you see, the sinusoidal part. So it is related to the modulation in some sense. If you recall your amplitude modulation, there used to be something called a modulation index, which defined how much modulation will occur. In AM you have over modulation and so on and so forth. So this also has a name called depth of velocity modulation. Okay, and one more thing, we already have assumed that v1 is much less than v naught. Hence this beta v1 by v naught is much less than 1. So we can invoke the binomial expansion, right? So you see, you have binomial approximation that 1 plus x to the power n is approximately equal to 1 plus nx when x is much less than 1. So here sign is always between 0, -1 and 1. So the main dominating thing will be beta I v1 by v naught, which is much less than 1 as assumed. So this will be approximately equal to 1 plus beta I v1 divided by 2 v naught. Okay, and also noting that this under root of 2e v naught by m is actually the initial uniform velocity. So now we get the equation of velocity modulation as v velocity at time t1 is equal to v naught times, okay, sine of omega t plus theta g by 2. We can easily see that v1 is the applied voltage, the amplitude of that, and theta g is the transit angle, which depends upon the transit time, and also hence depends on the distance between the two grids of the puncture cavity, and your velocity gets modulated with that. Now recall that sorry, it is here omega t naught. Okay, we wrote everything in terms of t naught. I will go back to this equation, yeah, here. So what I did is I wrote here is omega t naught minus omega t1, and then I wrote t1 is equal to this. If we write everything in terms of like this, we write t naught is equal to d by v naught minus t1. Okay, you start writing everything like that. Then what you get is, you will get here cos of this d by v naught minus t1, and correspondingly at the end you can carefully go back and replace everywhere this, and you will get at the end, just try it, it's very simple. You have to repeat the whole process. You will get v of t1 is equal to v naught 1 plus beta I v1 by v naught sine of omega t1, then there will be minus theta g by 2. Okay, so now you have everything here in terms of t1, and here you have everything in terms of t naught. Now in next part of the lecture I will explain the bunching process. Okay, so this was the velocity modulation process, then the next will be the bunching process, and then finally after doing the analysis for the both, we will get some idea of how the gain is achieved and how much is the gain. We get some quantitative relationships there. Okay, thank you for watching this video.